It's been a rough week. I mean, people often jokingly say to me, how do you deal with bureaucracy, the red tape, council? I usually laugh that stuff off. Yeah, this week I wasn't laughing. This week I cracked. So what pushed me over the edge? Well, see, I pride myself on being able to give people honest, percentage-based feedback. Feedback that they can actually act on. So I'd often sit here and say, I've lodged that job 1,000,000 times. I'd give it a 99% chance for success. Or, yeah, I think council's going to have some issues with that one. I'd give it a 40% chance of success. Unfortunately, with those odds, I can't lodge the application for you because I think I'd be wasting your time and money. Yeah, this week council threw me some curveballs. They came back to me with some advice that I just didn't see coming. They moved the goalposts on me. Do you know how depressing, how frustrating it is to have to go back to a client and go, yeah, you know how I told you that one had a 99% chance of success? Yeah, we've got to make some changes. That is super, super depressing. I look like an idiot. So, what's made council suddenly move the goalposts on me? What's changed? Well, in today's video, we're going to focus on exactly what's changed, why it's changed, and what the implications are for your next job. Just give me a few seconds to fix myself up. Oh, it's amazing what a few seconds can do, hey? Okay, super cringeworthy. I'm the first to admit it. But come on, town planning is such a dry topic. If I can inject humour just a little bit, even cringeworthy humour, it's got to be worth it, right? Yeah, roll with me, okay? Okay, so what was I talking about? I was talking about the fact that Brisbane City Council has moved the goalposts on me and it sent me to have a mental breakdown. So, what's caused them to shift the goalposts? 3 simple words. Brisbane's Burns, that's a long word, future blue print. Make sure I know how to spell this. Okay, so in case you've been hiding under a rock recently, Brisbane City Council has just carried out a massive public consultation process. A consultation process to get a feel for what Brisbane residents would like to see Brisbane looking like in the future. This thing was massive. I know there were letters in the rates notices. They were all over social media. I personally couldn't escape them on Instagram. They were on TV, they were on radio, they were everywhere. Now, I think at the end, what was it, over 100,000 people actually lodged submissions during the consultation process, and councils worked out that that's over 1 in 5 households. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. 1 in 5 households essentially participated. So it was huge. Now, what came out of this process overwhelmingly was the notion that the community, the residents, generally just the public, felt like the Brisbane City Council were going in the wrong direction. They were on the wrong path. The public doesn't understand the idea of performance-based planning, and those that do actually understand performance-based planning felt like council and the industry as a whole had taken it too far and that it really needed to be reined in. So, your question is probably like, what is performance-based planning? Well, in super simple terms, City Plan 2014, which is the rule book that we operate under, is a performance-based scheme. That essentially means that it has 2 separate types of requirements within it. We have the acceptable outcomes, or the AOs for short. They're quantitative statements, very fixed statements, black and white statements. So things like the house must not exceed 9.5 metres in height. The building must not be more than 25 metres in length. You must not encroach within 6 metres of the rear boundary. You get the idea. The performance outcomes are more intent-based statements. They're more subjective. They basically focus on the intent, like I just said, intent-based statements, focus on the intent of the acceptable outcome. So if the acceptable outcome says do not exceed 9.5 metres in height, the corresponding performance outcome says that you must not block your neighbour's access to sunlight and daylight, things like that. So if you can't comply with the acceptable outcome, which is always your first preference, preference, I guess that's the best word, because it's black and white, it's fixed, it's easy, then you seek approval under the performance outcome. Anyway, what came out of this consultation process was that the public feel like the industry as a whole and council has taken the performance outcomes too far and they need to be reined in. We need to bring it back more to that acceptable outcome type thing. Now, there's a few key areas that they really focused on. Number 1, minimum side boundary setbacks. Number 2, deep planting at the rear. So we have your reduced rear setbacks, all that sort of stuff. Street trees, biodiversity overlay, parking requirements, character requirements, the main stuff basically. So yeah, what they came out and said is we really want council to crack down on this stuff. So council said basically going forward, indirectly, they haven't said this outright, but indirectly going forward, what they're going to do is really crack down on the enforcement of the acceptable outcomes. They're basically only going to consider the performance outcomes in extreme situations. And even then, they're only going to budge slightly. So let's use the rear setback as an example. Acceptable outcome says you must have a minimum of 6 metres at the rear. The performance outcome, council might go, oh, okay, instead of 3 metres like we might have previously approved, we're now only going to approve 5.8 or 5.9. We're only going to budge slightly. So what does this mean for you guys? Well, as you saw through the intro in this video, unfortunately, we've already seen council start to make that shift back towards the acceptable outcomes. Things that they had previously been happy to support, they are now saying no to. So if you got town planning advice from a planner, whether it's someone else or myself 6 months ago, heck, if you even got the advice like a month ago, I would recommend you go back and just get a refresher. Just say, hey, has anything changed or is anything about to change? Because I think we will see some shifts in the way council assesses things. And likewise, if you have previously done applications a million times and never had any issues, don't assume that that means you're going to be safe going forward. Council, like I keep saying, council is really going to change tax here and crack down on these acceptable outcomes, the enforcement of the acceptable outcomes. Now, before you say it, don't rant and rave, don't carry on and go, how ridiculous is council? I did that last week. What I've come to realise, I've gone through that whole anger phase and I've come back to acceptance phase and realised at the end of the day, we live in a democratic society. Council is elected to represent the people. And the people, what was it, 100,000 people, 1 in 5 households, have very clearly spoken. If you don't like this outcome, it's very simple. Next time council does a massive public consultation process like this, put your hand up, lodge a submission, have a say, rally people, like-minded people to do the same thing so that you can tip the balance in your favour and get council to see the alternate side of the coin, I suppose that's how you'd say it. So yeah, there you go. Like I said, we need to be prepared for the fact that changes are coming. Just because council's been happy to support certain things in the past doesn't mean that they will support them in the future. So you need to be ready for that shift, and that, yeah, shift's the best word. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say today. If you've got any questions, I'd encourage you to continue the conversation below. Until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got 3. Number 1, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number 2, Brisbane Town Planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number 3, what was my number 3? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all.